Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode 254 of our Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. My name is Griff Cranebrink, and I am the lead of our client-facing team here at Thaudium. But today, my main role is playing host of our episode, which is titled Take Back Your Brand, How to Build an Authentic Personal Brand Grounded in Awareness, Intention, and Action. For this episode, we're going to be joined by two amazing guests, Ann Candido and April Martini. And April and Ann are the co-founders of ForthRight People, which is an agency focused on how to help high-performing leaders build from the inside out. I'm sure that's a concept we'll get a little bit closer to throughout this episode. And you're also both co-authors of, in my opinion, a kick-ass book that's going to be hitting shelves, both digitally and physically in early 2026. And the title of that book is The Power of Your Personal Brand, a playbook for struggling middle managers who want to do big things. And April, great to have you on.
Thanks for having us.
Can't wait. Been looking forward to this all day.
Yeah, there we go. Love to hear that. So branding is a word that both of you have probably used like a billion times in your life to this point, because both of you come from and are steeped in like decades of experience. And you coming from 20 years at P&G, which is, for many people who know Procter & Gamble, it's sort of like the branding mecca, like the original house of brands.
We invented it.
Anne invented it. Just ask her.
Yeah, there we go. And then April, obviously, you're more on the agency side. So you played the role of, helping the marketers who have, the dollars and the plans come up with the creative and the stories and the vision. So both of you have spent your basically your life's work in the space of branding. And I guess my question for both of you to get us started is, what were maybe some of the initial signals that told you that a lot of the work you were doing in helping to brand companies and products, that those same kind of tools, that same kind of focus was good to use on people?
Did you want to start?
You can go. You go.
Well, we talk about branding, and branding to a lot of people is a thing. Like, it's something you go do. It's something that you develop a logo around, your colors around, your iconography around, it's your package, like all of these things is how people describe brand. But the way that April and I describe brand is it's a philosophy. It's a philosophy for your business, and it's also a philosophy for how you present yourself. So in that situation, it is very similar, because you're thinking about it from the context of positioning and the way you show up in your presence and your perception. But where a lot of personal branding goes awry is when people start to actually then look at themselves as a personal brand like a thing. So it's like, okay, then what am I wearing? Which is like a piece of what your personal brand is, but it's not your identifying personal brand. Like everybody says, like, well, this is, my outfit and this is my personal brand. And, I'm representing my personal brand in the way that, my LinkedIn is being depicted. I mean, all those things are important in your activation of your personal brand, but it's not what defines your personal brand. So there's elements of context that change the way that we think about personal brand versus regular brand. But I don't know, what do you want to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely all of that. And I would actually say, Griff, that part of our philosophy is that you can't actually take the same exact approach to your personal brand as you would to a brand, right? And Anne, I mean, I think I'm stealing words out of your mouth, but
it happens a lot.
Yeah, we share a brain and she likes to take credit. So anyway, but there is this whole, I think, idea where people think that they can brand themselves however they want. But the difference is, if we're talking about the things, right? A package, a new product, an innovation, whatever those things are, those are things being created from scratch. Right. So you can dictate what that brand is. People are not that.
That's right.
So from a personal branding philosophy, where we focus is, all right, who are you really at your core? And I know we'll get into the whole way we approach this, so I won't go there yet. But who are you at your core? And then how do you learn to leverage that with intention in order to get what you want out of life? And then the last thing I'll say is, like Ann said, I think people put on a persona a lot of times. And so they're like, I want to show up as this on LinkedIn, but over here, I want to show up like this. And over here, I want to show up like this. And so it never is authentic. So the idea behind doing it on people, as you said, is to figure out who are you, who is your brand at your core, and then how do you make it work really hard for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the same, but not the same of thought there. And I definitely want to explore more of the concept of like, it's what people say about you and what they think about you, but it's also what you believe. And maybe there's brand and somewhere sits in the middle there. It's maybe somewhat related. My next question is like, let's make the case for this early, which is like, if I'm someone who's teetering on the edge of doing the work on my own personal brand, like what's the impact on my life of doing something like this? How could it change my life to lean more into my personal brand?
Well, we say your personal brand is your competitive advantage. It's the only competitive advantage you have. And so not to leverage it means that you're really diminishing the opportunity to be the best you can be. And that starts from the inside out, because a lot of times when we are in a struggle point, and that's usually when people start thinking about, what is my personal brand? And might not say personal brand, but they might think something's wrong with me, or I'm not going to be able to achieve what I want to achieve because I just don't have these skills, or I don't have the support, or I don't have the recognition or the capability, whatever. There's some like element of pain that people are experiencing. And they're like, I don't know how to get from where I am to where I want to go. And that's usually impetus from when people start to really internalize, well, what do I need to be in order to get to where I want to go? And a lot of times, a lot of good meaning mentors, coaches will be like, well, who's somebody you admire? And what about, this person who has this fabulous presence in a boardroom, or is a great speaker? And you start to believe I have to be like them in order to be able to do big things. And the truth is, no, you need to cultivate what makes you special and what makes you that have that competitive advantage, and what that is, and then leverage that and activate that, because that's how you're going to win. That's how you're going to achieve your big things. So it's a little bit of a different dichotomy. And that's why we say you have to build a leader from the inside out. And that's what, then when you start to align that with who you are inside, you can actually then operate from a place of authenticity, a place of strength, a place of confidence. The imposter syndrome kind of goes away a bit. Like, so a lot of those things that people face, a lot of aspiring leaders face, gets really diminished by the fact that you can feel solid in your personal brand.
Yeah. And I would add too, Griff, you said the thing about some of it's people's perception and some of it's what you believe yourself. And I think the inside out approach is to get really honest and clear about who you are, so that then the perception people have will match up to that. So what we were saying before about if you try to choose to show up, or Ann said, that terrible advice about, well, you like how that person does it, we'll just go do it how they do it, right? That's where people start to define it, and it's not a good thing. Whereas if you take the time to identify it for yourself and then lead through that, that's when people start knowing on the other side what to expect from you, because it's authentic, clear, and consistent no matter what. And the book focuses mostly on professional big things that you want to achieve. But I think this thing we say about being able to identify your personal brand in total actually helps you be who you are no matter where you are. And so you're more successful, quote unquote, in professional life, yes, but personally, your relationships are better, all of those things, because you do know who you are and you're living that every day.
Yeah, it reminds me of, as you both know, we do a lot of work on leadership development, and a lot of that starts in leading self and self-exploration. And one of the things, ironically, when you do that work, like what it allows you to do is be more comfortable in being uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yes. And so it's not so much about just building comfort, but it's about like, you're actually learning so much about yourself and the things that light you up, that allows you to lean more into discomfort in a way that just feels more natural, or at least feels more, more confident. And and in April. This is not a space that is new. In fact, in getting ready
What?
for this, in fact, I'm getting ready for this episode. I was like, let me do an Amazon search of how many brands or how many books have personal branding tagged to them on Amazon. How many do you think it was?
Well, we did the search, and I think there's like about 150, and we've read about 6 of them.
Yeah. So there's a good amount of books out there, and this is not in any way to say, a lot of those books don't have merit and don't have good frameworks and going to have tools, but maybe just more generally, if we were to think about this world of branding, I think you mentioned this concept of inside out, but what are some of the things that people get wrong, or start wrong, or start incorrectly when they go out on this journey that might lead them down this path of external validation versus internal enlightenment, if you will?
I think, Griff, it really starts with the fact of embracing that you have a choice. So a lot of times when we start to externalize what our personal brand looks like, we feel like we have no choice. We feel like our ability to be able to operate who we are is not good enough. Right. And so you have to start from a mindset of who I am is good enough. And I just have to cultivate that into the presence that's going to lead me in pursuit of my big thing. Now, then we say that, and a lot of people be like, but I don't control when I get promoted. It's like, well, no, you don't necessarily get to control when you're promoted, but you can determine for yourself what your big thing is. It may not be in the context for which you are living your big thing. Like the example I use is like, I always wanted to be a CEO. I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to be my own boss, right? I wasn't going to do that at P&G. I'm doing that now, right? So the path to your big thing can look very different, but just to say, well, I want to be a CEO, that's never going to happen in my company, is like diminishing your ability to have faculty and have choice. So it always has to start there. But then we have a framework that really helps you to uncover, and I'll let you go through the framework and then add whatever you want. So I'm not talking all the time.
You were on a roll, so we could have just kept going.
I could have.
Although I do like that you said you were never going to be CEO of P&G, so I just want to
well, I mean, I should have been. I mean, I would have made an excellent CEO.
That is what I was expecting.
But the path
was
I should have been, but it wasn't the path.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, back to the framework. So yes.
Let's just call it spade a spade.
So anyway, I think, Grip, you asked what do people get wrong? And I think it's not operating through a framework, right? Mm-hmm. So when we say from the inside out, it's really getting clear on 4 key areas. So the first is your characteristics. And Ann and I believe that 99% of the time, those are things that are inherent to you that you cannot change. However, you've heard us say already that you have to cultivate your personal brand and how you show up. Mm-hmm. So you can't change those. You have to identify those and know who you are, right? And so for me, I always say 2 of mine are stubborn and loyal. I can modulate those. Mm-hmm. I cannot change those. Like my parents identified those when I was a tiny toddler, and Ann will tell you that they still live very strongly today, right?
Yes.
Characteristics. However, my appearance is how those show up. So I said I can modulate those, right? So I can choose how I want to present myself. And the way that I very specifically control that appearance, the things that I can change, is my behaviors and actions. So I always tell the story that I was very lucky early on in my career that I had 2 people in my life who knew that I was very, very direct and that was going to get me in really big trouble really quickly. Mm-hmm. And so they sat me down. It does, right? Like we're all humans. It's all a work in progress. Mm-hmm. Yes, I get in trouble. However, I was given the speech about how you're a hard charger, you're very smart, you do things very quickly and very well, and you're clearly a learner, right? You're curious. If no one comes behind you, the fact that you want to eventually lead an organization is never going to happen. And that is something that has carried me through right now. There were multiple times, and sometimes my friend here still has to remind me about how my directness needs to be modulated to be heard appropriately. But through my behaviors and actions, I can choose how I show up, right? And in coaching, I do this with people. If I see that they're not seeing, I say in the initial, I'm very direct. But then if I realize like we're having a moment, I'm like, is that too direct? Do you need me to pull it back? Are you hearing what I am saying? Right. So that's how I control my behaviors and actions to appear the way I want to while honoring the characteristics of who I just am as a person.
Yeah. Oh man, that's really interesting. The way you're describing characteristics, they kind of sound like a combination of like values
Yes, they are.
dipped in competencies. I don't know.
Principles, points
Yeah.
of view,
Yeah.
Yep.
all of those things wrapped up in
Yeah.
characteristics.
Well, let me ask you, like, the follow-up question that comes to mind for me is, I'm a huge fan of frameworks. I'm also maybe even a bigger fan of simplicity. And so when you guys think about brand, like how do you go through a framework like that to give people the chance to like carve down to something that is memorable and simple? Because if there's anything I've learned in doing work, let's call it adjacent work to the branding space and purpose and values, it's that what you want to get people down to is like a whittled core that is easy to remember. It maybe even has a couple of like punchy words attached to it. Because like what you want people to remember is like in doing work as big as purpose, the last thing you want to forget is what it was. And so like, how do you bring that the lens of carving and simplifying to something that can be so voluminous as looking at all your characteristics and the way they'll show up in your appearance and the behaviors and actions? Like, how do you guys think about that?
I mean, it's a really good question because when you start to internalize your personal brand, it can go off the rails pretty quickly. So there's two things we do to help with this. Is one, we orient it around a big thing. So a big thing is a dream, a goal, something that you aspire to that's going to bring you joy and fulfillment in your, in this case, or your career. But as April alluded to earlier, it could be your life. But we talk in the context of career because that's what the book is focused on. So orienting it around something helps to provide focus, right? And then it gives you a context or a filter and by which to analyze how you want to show up. And that is the other piece. When you're getting into your behaviors and actions, we have people, and I know you guys do purpose statements too, and in your workshopping, but we do something similar, and it's how you want to show up. It's like your personal mission statement of how you want to show up. And we use the framework of, I want to be known as a person who.
Yeah.
And that really encompasses your presence, how you want to show up. And it allows you to really understand and can take into consideration the perception, because other people's perceptions is their reality. Whether we intend for the way we show up to impact people in certain ways or not, it doesn't matter. Their perception is their reality. And if we want to achieve our big thing, then we need these people, regardless if we want them or not, to actually these stakeholders that we call them, or these value perceivers, we need them in order to align to who we are in order to achieve our big thing. It's just a fact of life. We can't achieve our big things on our own. So this mission statement helps as a reminder. And I mean, when I did it, I'm like, I wrote it on my notebook. It was on my computer. It's like, it's a reminder of like, okay, how do I want to show up? How do I consistently show up in order to be able to start building this reputation of the type of person that I want to be? And that all then drills down into all of that introspection of, well, where is that rooted in? It's rooted in my characteristics. It also has to reflect in my appearance. I can't say that I want to be a person who's known for being highly collaborative and listening to everybody in meetings to forge paths forward, and then show up and be like a tyrant and being like dictatorial. I mean, it doesn't match. So it provides that filter so you can consistently hit on all the different aspects of what your personal brand represents. So then people start believing, yeah, Anne is that kind of person. Or they are like, you're not showing up in the way that you say you want to show up. So it provides a really good opportunity for people to provide feedback too.
Well, and I would say too, back to the, question of like all the characteristics, when we do the work in the beginning, we typically get to like 4 or 5 that are really core to who you are. Right. And it does take some time to get there. Some people are more self-aware than others. Some people can, pretty quickly rattle them off. Sometimes we have to ask a cross section of people in their life to get there, or examine past behaviors and actions and say, okay, what are the themes we're seeing in there to get there? But even though, as human beings, we have lots of different layers and all of that, there typically are 4 to 5 that rise to the top that you just see over and over and over again. And so then those are the ones that, as you make your mission statement and you identify the big thing, I talked about modulation before, you then choose which ones are going to do you very well and how they're going to show up. And it's not a manipulative thing. We get that question a lot, right? People are like, well, what do you mean that I can choose? I'm like, well, they're yours. So if you want to win at your big thing and you want to be perceived the way you want to be perceived, let's set you up to show up that way. And it might change from big thing to big thing, or mission statement to mission statement as you go through and you grow. But typically there are 4 to 5 that you just keep coming back to that are just so you. There's just no way to avoid them.
Yeah. And just a little quick point on that. Your characteristics are neither good nor bad.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the testing, the quote unquote testing we take, strength finders, Myers-Briggs, I mean, they all kind of set things up as that, you have strengths and you have opportunity areas. Your characteristics are neither good nor bad. It's how they show up, how they're activated. They either lead you to your big things or away from your big things. So as an example, Grift, what is one of your core characteristics or one of your core values?
Put you in the hot seat.
Yeah, I'd say so. Having done a good amount of this work, this comes pretty easy to me, but I would say authenticity is a big one for me, and curiosity is like a really close second. Like my life is built around those two things.
I love it. Okay, so curiosity. Where has curiosity helped you in achieving your?
Oh, this is like a totally reversal.
Oh yeah, I'm totally hijacking your episode right now. So
I love this. This is a you're the captain now moment. In terms of, so I think it's benefited. Well, first off, two things. Knowing that has been so beneficial to me because I know going into any situation, like that's going to be a superpower that I can kind of lean into. And so, I can be curious, and I've noticed that being curious, it makes people recognize that I care about them and that like, it's not just my story, it's a story for us. And so there's trust that gets built on being curious. But I think just for me personally too, being curious and leaning into that curiosity has led me down this winding career path that I've been on. That I've been so fortunate to see ups and downs and wins and losses and learnings. And so in a lot of ways that, kind of has given me the curiosity has given me the confidence to fail and go back at it.
I love that. And I could see that in you. And I think that's probably been a characteristic that's been highly beneficial in the position you're at and in your client interactions. Where has curiosity not been beneficial?
I knew that was coming next. I think it tends to rears negative when people might think I'm like questioning their judgment. I'm just curious to learn new things, but they take my, hey, maybe if we did this, they take it as me not trusting their initial thought or their initial idea. It perhaps makes me a little bit more of like a wanderer too. So I'm always kind of looking for what's next. And people might say he's never satisfied. I know my wife is like, you never want to live anywhere more than 2 years because you're so curious of what the next place could be. So I think there is a little bit of like a curiosity can be deemed as like a questioning in more of a judgmental than of like an open space growth mindset type of nod.
Mm-hmm. And so what we would see then in that context is that call curiosity a soft skill. And we talk a lot about this in the book, how soft skills are the new hard skills. And so that soft skill is one that, as you perfectly depicted, can work its way and be very beneficial, or it can show up in a way that people feel judged. And so what tends to happen then in that mindset of that leader who is trying to figure out then how to get to the next level, they'll get the feedback that, well, you need to really watch how many questions you're asking in meetings because you're coming off as sounding very judgy. So then that person might think, well, my curiosity is an issue, right? And they start to dampen their curiosity and they dampen it across the board. And so then contextually speaking, they lose one of their superpowers, as you mentioned, and part of their competitive advantage of being curious. Whereas when we were doing an introspection of your personal brand, we'd be like, okay, so in that context where you can kind of sense that people might feel judged, how would you approach being curious in that context, why you could still be curious? And do you have any ideas for that, Griff? How would you approach that?
And so I think what you're calling out is, and this is a lot of the work that we get to do in the world of leadership development, but it's marrying how you show up with the situation that you're in. So just
Correct.
like we talk a lot about this, and this is maybe very related to our conversation, the superpower of noticing.
Yes.
And so, just from doing a lot of this work, I know going into a room, maybe if someone's put a lot of time and effort into something, like I know I'm not going to initially tear it down with curiosity. Like I'm going to lead with a little bit more gratitude and recognition and, wow, it's really great where we're at. With that being said, like here are a couple of thoughts that maybe we might play around with in like version 2. So I think there's ways that you can still kind of lean into the curiosity that allow you to explore what's possible for yourself and for others, while also recognizing that in any situation, it's not just you, unless you're talking to a mirror. There are people in the room, there's a team around you. And we talked in, a podcast akin to this that you all lead around the concept of Leadership Wake. And I think that, maybe brand is maybe another synonym for what a leadership wake is over time.
1,000%. No, I love that strategy. Like I tend to be a very curious person too. I ask a ton of questions. So I'll go into a meeting, and if I can feel it starting to generate, be like, okay, you guys, I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and this is for my understanding, not because I'm questioning what you guys are doing or what you guys are saying. So just please humor me. Let me, so I can ask my questions. So even prefacing that gives you a little bit of permission. You can't take it off the rails. You still have to be responsible, as you said, for noticing. But there's different strategies that allow you to go in and manage, as April said, or modulate with that characteristic of who you are without having to diminish its brightness. So thank you for playing along.
Of course. And I just saw your curiosity in real time, hijacking the podcast and taking over.
That's a natural tendency. That's a control thing, really. I mean, if I was going to be totally honest,
that's the other characteristic.
All of yours, because there was a combination happening.
April could articulate exactly what characteristics were at play on that one.
Yeah. Oh man, we'll look for it in the comments. So a couple things you both have mentioned a few times. Big things. When you brought this concept to me for the first time, and then I read it in the book, my reaction was, wow, so exciting. At the same time, Holy Ghost, that's scary to wrap it all into one big thing. When you're helping folks sort of define that, maybe we could start with like how you define one big thing. And then the second piece of this question is a little bit of a loaded one, but it's like, how do you help people lean into the exciting side of one big thing with not the potential fearful side, which is like, if I don't achieve this one big thing, is my life then a failure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the first thing we always say is there isn't only one big thing for the rest of your life, right? Part of the big passion reason around writing this book was the amount of times in our collective careers where we were chasing something and we ran into roadblocks. And you hear the examples in the book for everybody, get excited about those. I'll do a plug like Andy would typically do.
The PR thing at play. So thank you.
I've learned PR from Ann. That's a hard skill, not a soft skill. But anyway,
doing it well is a soft skill.
Doing it well is a soft skill. That's right. So anyway, there isn't just one, right, for the rest of your life. And so for writing the book, we really were like, how many times did we have another big thing come up that we wanted to go and do, and we didn't know how to get there? And we looked around and nobody was able to help us, right? So when you ask about confidence, being able to take the time to identify your personal brand and then leaning into it and seeing it succeed through many different big things is what ultimately allows you to trust and trust and trust again and again and again. And so when I'm working with people on big things, they do have those oh shit moments, right? Like, well, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. And what our role then becomes is, okay, but like, what's the next one that makes the most sense for you? Let's not think about like, well, I want to get there 15 years from now. Well, nobody knows what that's going to look like, right? What is the next most logical thing that you want to achieve that you've been running up against challenges with and frustrations? And let's figure that out. And sometimes there's more than one in their minds, but when we really boil it down, there's a crux that is happening over and over again that then allows us to say, okay, your next big thing is you're not getting that promotion, right? Like what we ultimately want is this next promotion. What do we need to figure out to go and do that? I don't care that you want to be CEO 15 years from now. We're working against this one big thing next, and let's focus all of our time and energy on there and eliminate the noise of the rest. And then to your question about like, well, how do we know if it's not the right next big thing? Well, that happens too. I mean, how many times have we gotten a promotion and we're like I remember distinctly being like, that's it?
Yeah.
That doesn't look the way that I thought it was going to look. Well, guess what? I got there, but now I need my next big thing.
Yeah.
It happens. I think people get in their head about it, and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
It's simply a focal point. It gives
Yes.
you a little bit of focus. So you're not all over the place, kind of trying. And that's another thing, a lot of leaders, they're just kind of like living in the ether. Like what happens will happen. But then if it doesn't happen, then we're upset and we're disappointed. And then sometimes we start to manifest that about being something about ourselves. And we feel like we're wandering aimlessly with, I mean, so it provides a little bit of focus, but it also provides an okay for you to actually have something that you want for yourself.
Yes.
So a lot of times when we get into big things, people are like, well, I just want to be able to provide for my family. I'm like, well, let's assume anything you do, you want to provide for your family, right? What is the one thing that you want to wake up every day and do that helps you provide for your family, right? So it allows you to have like that personal sense of fulfillment, because that's the word that we use when we talk about how you set your big thing, that allows you to feel like you're in pursuit of something for yourself. So that when you look back on your life,
your legacy,
you're like, all right, I feel like I put myself into this world in a way that I was able to drive impact, my purpose, my whatever my legacy is. And it's okay to want something for yourself. And that also then starts to really force the conversation with the people around you about what that looks like for them. I mean, so for example, we have, a lot of working moms, and I'm not just saying this is isolated to working moms, but it's a very hard dichotomy for working moms of like, how much time and effort do I put into my career? How much effort do I put into being a mom and a parent? I'm not saying dads don't have the same conversation, but I'm just talking about moms for a second.
It is inherently easier to be a dad. As a dad, I will throw that out there.
Yeah. So all comments about that directed to Griff. Thank you very much.
We're not stepping in that today.
But we've had a lot of these conversations, and we have to have this conversation a lot with very ambitious, hardworking moms, and be like, you're allowed to have a career that you are proud of. You're allowed to put focus on that career and not have to be at everything that that your kids have kind of come up with, or that the schools mandate, or, so the choices you make are your choices, and there's no right or wrong way of making these choices. There's no like one book that says this is what you do in order to be a good mom and a good career, or be a good career woman. So you have to believe in yourself and the way that you're manifesting in yourself, and that's all rooted in your personal brand and what your values, your characteristics, and what is important to you. But you have to realize that it's okay to have personal pursuits, and that might not be something that everybody likes.
Yeah, I think the word pursuit seems really important. I don't know, not to go on too many tangents, but I think I've shared with you both some of the challenges I think that happen from us going through proficiency-based education.
Yeah,
most of our structured time in school, I think, does lead us to this idea of like pass, fail, success or not. And there's also like another societal component of this, which is like, yeah, we all kind of say that like we accept failure and mistakes, but like everyone who tells us like, hey, it's okay to fail, like they have succeeded, and they're like, just keep failing and then like you'll get to me. But like we don't ever actually hear from the people who are like, hey, I tried and I never succeeded. Like they don't get a platform. And so you're still like, you're hearing it from people who are like up on high now of like, I've gone through the trials and the tribulations. And what we talk about with leaders all the time, this is not related to brand, but it's more so just becoming a better leader, is like fall in love with the pursuit of getting better.
Yeah.
And in this case, maybe it's like fall in love with the pursuit of the big thing. Like don't fall in love with the big thing, but fall in love with like the fact that you have found this path that excites you so much that you could fail and it still would be fine. I don't know how that resonates with you both, but
yeah. I mean, I think it's totally true. And I think if we think only in terms of the end game, my example before, right, of like I hit the promotion, I was really good at this early in my career. I'm going to chase that next thing, and that's when I'm going to get there, right? And then I get there and be like, what?
All right, what's the next thing?
Yeah. Whereas now where I am, because I leverage my personal brand, as Anne hears me say it all the time, like I never feel more free than when I'm coaching people. I never feel closer to the thing that I'm supposed to be doing in life than when I am coaching people.
Yeah.
And I would say that I enjoy every component of it, even the hard moments, but it's because I've learned to embrace the journey of it, right? So, I mean, I had one week where 4 people cried, and I was like, Anne, I think I should be fired. And then we realized, like, because they were working through things, right? Like, it's all of those types of things. But I think what ends up happening is, yes, the big thing provides focus, but sometimes the big thing changes through the journey of learning. And it can pivot and become something totally different. It's just a matter of being diligent to go after something and keep taking the steps forward to learn and grow and be better and try to get there. It's not actually about that end thing, because as we said before, it's not about the things.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of is about the things too. Because I mean, getting that promotion's great. Becoming CEO is great. I mean, those things can be
the milestones,
really fantastic. So otherwise, it's just an arbitrary pursuit, and we just enjoy ourselves along the way.
Yes,
but
it's a path to achievement. It just doesn't always have to be those exact things.
It doesn't have to be those exact, because there's like other offshoots. It's like, when you're hiking and you're like, oh, do I take that path or do I keep on the path that I'm at? And so I think part of it is having the open-mindedness of seeing other things that are coming in your path, but then also having a personal pursuit or something that you're looking towards that is going to bring you fulfillment and joy, that does give you a way to orient how you're showing up in this world with purpose and intentionality, so that when you're in the conversation about these big things, it's not like some sort of arbitrary conversation where you're like, I don't understand why I can't achieve these big things.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of this conversation and a lot of the way that we orient a book is because people do want that promotion. They are ambitious. They do want that leadership position. They do want that team. They do want that new job. They do want to go out and be their own boss. They want something so passionately that it is a pursuit that they need to really focus on in order to be able to achieve it, because it's not going to arbitrarily happen, right?
Itself. Yeah.
But along the way, you can find different offshoots. You're like, oh, well, this is interesting. I mean, it doesn't have to be point A to point B directly. It could go 8.5 all the way about, So you can take those little offshoots as long as you're okay with experiencing where those offshoots take you, and you're okay kind of not being on the path from A to B. I mean, that's what happened to me. I mean, I'm an engineer by background. I went to P&G and I went into packaging. And I could have just taken that road, and I could have just moved up the ladder, and I would have been like a senior leader in probably about 10 years. But then I was like, well, this PR stuff, and not PR, it's products research stuff, seems kind of interesting. And so I was like, I kind of want to try that for a little bit and see what that's like. So I'm like, well, is it going to delay my ability to move up in the company? It for sure was. I was very clear, but I wanted to try products research. And then I was like, wow, I want to know what this branding and marketing stuff looks like. Did it delay my progression up again? It sure did. But then when you put that whole story together, it's made me the perfect person to own my own business.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are, sometimes you don't even know why you're doing the things you're doing. And sometimes you have to trust yourself in it. But having a pursuit of like, and for me, it was like, I just want to learn everything that P&G can teach me. Like the place is, I mean, it's beyond any university. I mean, because it's experiential learning. And so I was like, I'm going to go learn everything I could possibly learn. And I'm going to go and take opportunities I think are going to be exciting. And so that was my big thing. And it paid off into this. So
what's even interesting in you sharing that example, Anne, is like, I think some of that inherent nature of us externally comparing
Exactly.
Big
Yep.
things like the idea of, oh, I'm delayed. I was like, delayed against what?
Mm-hmm.
Delayed against some like arbitrary timeline that we put
Mhm.
ourselves on that says we have to have XYZ accolades by ABC timeline.
Mhm.
And I think it's, I do think it's a really, first off, I love the way that you both have added the idea of personal mission statements and big things to the brand. Because to me, it like three-dimensionalizes brand, which is no longer like it's just this like report out of who I am,
Uh-huh.
or more so like it's this thing, or to your point, like it's the philosophy with which I'm going to try out and go and be like a productive, passionate member of society, which is super cool. And it's really important to like, I think you to call back out to those things. That's not bad to want a promotion. It's just
No.
really good to know why you want it.
Yes.
Exactly right.
And
That's
it's
a
really
really
good to remember how you feel when you get it, because it might not feel exactly like you thought it was going to feel. And maybe that should also tell you something. There was a mentor I had who, super simple concept, but he just shared with me, it's like, pay attention to the things you do in your life that never lose their euphoric feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, pay attention to the things that have the fleeting feeling, and you'll get some really good data for yourself on what that means. You should try to find more time and space for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I love that. I also I love the philosophy too of like being careful about the grind, right? Where everybody's like, oh, we got to grind it out. We got to grind it out. In some cases you do, if it's in pursuit of your big thing, but you got to, again, I love what you said is like knowing why you're doing it, know why you're grinding. It's not just an endless pursuit of whatever, right? It should have an end state or a rationale or a reason. And I think people sometimes get lost in those things too, of like the grind, and I got to work really hard for the next 10 years, and then I'll be able to get this promotion. And then 10 years goes by and they're like, I lost 10 years of my life because I got this promotion and it wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, right? So there's an element on the other side too of, I love the really paying attention to the euphoric feeling, but also like being careful on the other side of that coin of what you're sacrificing. And sometimes you have to in order to achieve your big things. But what are you sacrificing, and why are you sacrificing that?
How do you help people? Because I think there is some inherent risk to like falling into the despair of the idea of wasted time or wasted decades. Like, because how do you help people not think about, hey, I've been doing this thing for 10 years and it's not what I love, so therefore it's a waste of time? Like, how do you counteract the like, I've been sitting over here decaying? Because in my mind, it's sort of like, yeah, it wasn't lighting you up, but it's led you here, and it's giving you this moment to like have an inflection point. So I'm not trying to lead the witness too much for you both, but like, how do you maybe allow people to recognize where they've been is not where they want to be, but not see it as sort of like this time spent in like a cell of despair?
Well, I think that always is the mindset piece, right? And I don't want to use a buzzword and, like, oh, you just change your mindset.
We say mindset at least a dozen times a day. So you're
yes.
It's just the magic word.
But I think it is helping people, and I believe this is the role of the coach, right? Helping people see the things that they're not seeing, right? So if someone says, I'll just use a real life example without names. How about that? I was up for this other job, and if I'm honest with myself, I was too nervous to take the leap, so I didn't. And now I'm in this job and I feel like I've wasted this time, right? I was like, oh, okay, but let's talk about what we learned. Sometimes we learn more in those moments that are the wrong ones. I certainly did throughout my entire career. The bad boss you had or whatever, you learn more in those moments. So what have we learned through that experience? And let's build that into criteria that we're not going to make that mistake the next time. Right? So that person, and this is how, when we talk about manifesting, we do believe that things open up when you open up yourself, right? So 3 different opportunities came. One was to be promoted and stay. Do you know how quickly that one came off the table? Right? It was like a no-brainer. It was like, once we identified that definitely was not for all the reasons. Then we got down to these two and we were able to move forward. But what I was constantly emphasizing in that situation is don't harp on the fact that it was the quote unquote wrong decision. Things were still learned in that experience that now got you, like you said before, Griff, to where you are right now. So let's just make the next right decision for you, but don't spend your time thinking that it was bad, right? You still learned things. You learned what you do not want. And when we went to negotiate at this new table, those things were the non-negotiables for that person for this new role. And we knew what we were asking for.
Oh yeah. That's so powerful. Like take all those experiences, good and bad, as like currency.
Yes.
Or whatever to come next. And you now have all this like, oh, what am I gonna lean more into based on not just what I've loved, but what I've learned or what I've lost. Oh, I love that. We could talk about all this stuff for hours. Should we keep going?
I'm gonna need wine if we're gonna go much past 5 o'clock.
So I hope that folks who come across this episode by now, they're saying, yes, this is definitely something that I need to either start or continue or refresh, or maybe with this new framework, try it a slightly different way. For that group who is excited, like what would you say the second thing to do to get started? Because the first thing would be to buy the book, obviously. But if there was like one tactical thing that you were to give that crowd to say like, hey, just get started by doing this tomorrow, what would it be?
So I would say it's, and you mentioned it earlier on, Grift, is like work on being more aware. And that it takes a lot of vulnerability. And sometimes it takes us a little bit of time to be able to get into that space where we can really be honest with ourselves, because a lot of times we already know. We just don't want to admit it because it makes us feel bad about ourselves. Right. But this is not about like trying to find out how bad we are. This is about workshopping ourselves. So I'd be fine if you kind of take yourself out of it and you kind of third party yourself. You can be a little bit more objective. And I think to your strength, Grift, be curious. It's like when you walk into something, you're like, that meeting went really well. Start asking yourself, why did that go so well? What was it about that? How did I show up? What objective was I trying to meet? And how did I successfully achieve that in that situation? And how do I think people perceive me in that way? Conversely, if things don't go well, it's like ask yourself the same way. Well, that didn't go so well. Why did that not go well? How did I show up? What was the conflict there? Like, what was the body language I was getting from everybody else? Like, go start asking for feedback from people. As April said, she had to go do, it's like, when she's talking about her directness, we have to do that about ourselves too. Is like, ask somebody you trust, like, hey, did I come off okay in that meeting? Or what was wrong there? What did you sense? Start workshopping yourself and being curious about yourself, and driving that self-awareness is an excellent place to start. And then really just being honest with what you already know that you're afraid to admit.
Well, and I would say that very specific to an exercise that we have people do regularly to kind of document that is I am always a fan of, depending on what cadence works for you and how your personality's built, right? But either at the end of every day, at the end of every week, take a moment and jot down 3 things that went really well and 3 things that didn't go so well. And then look week over week or day over day or whatever. And you'll start to uncover those patterns that then help you get to the place of, this is what I think might be going on with me, right?
That sounded a lot like mine. You don't have anything different?
Well, no, I'm like giving the specific exercise of what you go and do. Like,
I think it was a reinforcement plus. I think it was a reinforcement
what's the
plus
tool that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got to go with April on this one. I think I got to go with April.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I'll pay for that later. I recognize. I asked myself, what went wrong in that podcast? I wonder.
Why is Ann no longer answering my phone calls?
Well, Grift.
Well, and April, I have some fireball questions for you.
Oh, yours are fireball, ours are rapid fire.
Yeah, well, both. Let's call them rapid fire fireball questions.
Okay. Fireball sounds more dangerous. So,
Are we taking shots? I am definitely out.
Before we get there, though, for the group who's listening in, who is probably interested, the book Is there an on sale date that people should be looking at? Is there a website that we could attach to the episode that allows people to go and pre-order? Like, what's the process to get the book in their hands?
We're almost there.
That's actually a really good question. We're almost there. The book is tentatively slated for January, February timeframe.
Okay.
But we have a lot of podcast episodes on personal branding. You just go to our website, ForthRight-People.com, and go to our resources and just type in personal brand. And we have, at least
We've talked about
like
it a ton of
6,
times.
7 episodes that just talk about our philosophy about personal branding, talk about the structure of personal branding, and then how you can contextualize it for different points of, I think, career. And we've contextualized it
what might be going wrong, why do I need to work on mine, all of those types of things.
So yeah, that's Strategic Counsel by ForthRight Business is the podcast, and it's available on all players of choice now.
Strategic Counsel. I heard you also are going to be unveiling an episode with a really interesting, charismatic guy talking about leadership wake sometime soon. So
yeah, that's Steve Canton. He's on in 2 weeks. So yeah, you don't want to miss that episode.
Skip this week's episode. It's some crazy guy. Okay, awesome. So book coming out. Look out for it, everyone. I've had the pleasure of reading it before it's come out, and I do have to say, like, it is just to give you both not a needed, but from my mind, a pat on the back. Like, it's the perfect example of simple, pragmatic, and you can tell it's written by passionate people. So
thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
so good on you guys for bringing that. Yeah, well, good on you guys for bringing that goodness into the world. Now time for the rapid fire fireball round.
All right,
okay, let's do it.
All right, so just 3 questions. The first one is, what's a brand that you just like obnoxiously love? So in the lens of branding, like, what's a brand that you just like, everyone in your life knows you love it, and it's almost like obnoxious how much you love it?
Okay, so can I give 2? One's a person, one's a product. So Lululemon, which Anne can attest that she thought I was a crazy person when I told her how loyal I am to that brand. And I explained that as a person who did consumer research for a very long time, I tried every athletic
Remember,
brand.
this is rapid fire.
I know he said fireball. He did not say rapid
fire. I did say rapid fire fireball, but let's keep going.
Anyway, I tried all of them, and it was my absolute, like, durability, worth the price, holds up, looks good, all those things. Lululemon. The other one from a personal brand perspective is Shaquille O'Neal.
He does love Shaquille O'Neal.
I love him. People know this, like, they'll send me random stuff when they see cut out of him or whatever. It is not his basketball career personality. But the day I saw that man on the commercial where Gold Bomb medicated powder, and he was like, a little shake, a little shimmy, I almost fell off the treadmill. I was laughing so hard. So yeah, those are mine.
I love that. And how about for you?
Okay, so brand. The first one that comes to mind is Starbucks. I'm a huge Starbucks fan, to the point where I'll book hotels in proximity to Starbucks's.
Wow.
Because it's usually it's how I start my day. So, like,
I had to convince her to get up really early yesterday morning to go to a client meeting, and I was like, but here's the thing, I'll get Starbucks
on the way.
Like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, she knew that was like a must stop. So so that's definitely one that I'm obsessed about, but I think they do a very good job of surrounding the consumer with all kinds of very just emotionally driven touch points. So
yeah,
I think that's one that for sure. You said now a personal brand once, and then I'm a little stumped on the personal brand. I just go back to the people that are in the book. I think one of my favorite personal brand examples is Dwayne Johnson. I so much love watching him and the way that his personal brand shows up. His persona for wrestling is the charismatic trash talker. That is his personal brand. So when he united his persona with his personal brand is the reason why he is who he is. And then that follows through even in movies and TV shows, even in Ballers, which is supposed to be something that's like a little bit more serious, a little bit more drama driven. He's still a charismatic trash talker.
I think you talked longer than me in this answer.
I don't think so. You went on and on about Lulu. I think we got it. But anyway. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Okay. I also love that the question was for one brand and
No.
because April went with two and felt the need to also follow up with two.
Oh,
And
of
like,
course.
who went longer, who was more provocative.
Very
But,
competitive.
I never picked that up. I never knew that about you guys. All right.
We don't do sports against each other though. That's a hard no. We
No.
don't do it.
Yeah. All right. Second one, which is a little bit more serious. If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self from today, go back to your 18-year-old self, you tell that person two things. What's one thing that's going to be really hard for you to go through? And what's one thing you're going to be really proud of yourself for doing?
Ooh, this is a heavy one, man. Talk about a.
This one's more on the fireball side than the rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you repeat it twice? One thing, hard thing you were going to go through.
And then what's one thing you'll be really proud you have done?
Okay, so my proud that I have done, it took me until I was 30 years old to want kids. And I am the cliche of on my 30th birthday, my husband and my sister found me sitting on top of the toilet seat. I have to clarify. I was sitting on top of the toilet seat, people, bawling my eyes out. And they were both like, oh God, she's 30. She thinks she's getting old. We know where this is going. And I'm shaking my head. And they're like, what? And I was like, I want kids. And they were both like, okay, isn't that a good thing? And I was like, but I don't feel like I have control of it. So that also gives you an indication of my personality. And then one really hard thing that I went through?
One hard thing that you're going to go through, but at the same time, you're going to be proud of yourself for having maybe weathered.
So I will say there were several hard things as I look back, but I think how it got me here is important. So I was in a pretty male dominated environment, especially as I rose in leadership at those agencies. And there are bad behavior things that happened. Client touching your leg under the table, a boss sliding you a check across the desk and saying, please stay with us because you know how to dress yourself.
Wow.
And I also was badly told by a female HR person that they were glad it happened to me because I had a good head on my shoulders and could deal with it, right? In one of those instances. So for me, not that I would say I'm an ultra feminist or anything like that, but I have been a very big advocate of standing up for other females and helping them understand how that is not okay. And maybe they're not as blatant examples as that, but none of that will ever be tolerated, ever.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, April.
For me, I mean, I think that they're kind of intertwined for me. I think the hardest thing I've ever had to do was leave P&G. It is a hard company to leave. It really is. I mean, I've had such tremendous experiences. Was making good money. It's a very,
there's a lot of prestige with that place.
Yeah. I mean, it's quote unquote like secure, like, so it's a lot to say. I went to leave a company like that, and pursue my own thing. I didn't even want to go to a different company. I just wanted to pursue my own thing. And I'm very proud of myself for having the guts to go do that and being able then to persevere what was a very tough time of uncertainty of like, how am I going to build this thing and what do I want it to be? And are people going to still think that I'm good at what I do? Am I still going to think I can do it? Am I good at what I do? And really just having the courage to go through the journey back to the point that we had in pursuit of my big thing, which is wanting to really be my own boss, and enjoying the flexibility that comes with that. I mean, I would lie if I didn't say there wasn't like millions of times where I'm just like, I don't even know why I did this. I just need to go get a job and just call it a day. I mean, but I'm glad it wasn't as easy, because it gave me the confidence that I could do hard things. And that's been my mantra since then, is like, when I was at P&G, I'm like, yeah, things were challenging, but they weren't hard, right? And I've done so many hard things since then. It just has given me that confidence that it doesn't matter. Just throw it in my direction. I can do hard things. And I think that's one of my superpowers. So
yeah, that's super cool. You guys are really fun to talk to. You know that?
Yeah, we do actually. Thank you. That's why we have a podcast.
All right. Last one, and then we'll get you guys out of here. Let's practice what we preach a little bit. Personal mission statement time. I want to be known for blank. Can you both fill that in?
Well, it's actually I want to be known as a person who. But do you want to be? You want to use yours, or you want to use the way that it says in the book?
Feels like it's close enough, but let's go with your version. Let's go with your version.
Yeah. So I want to be known as a person who is more internally, or being known for is more external. So it's a little bit of a
touche. All right, let's go with the book's version.
Oh my! I'm ready for wine. Can we wrap this up? You two can go argue on your own time.
But it's so much fun to argue. Anyway, so I want to be known as a person who brings out the absolute best in people so they can accomplish whatever they want to do in this world.
Mine's actually kind of similar. I want to be.
Of course it is.
Well, well, now we've aligned on a new vision, so we were talking the same language and sharing a brain again. I want to be known as a person who has a lasting impact on every person that I come into contact with, coaching, but also just personally. And to contextualize that a bit, people have started saying to me, I heard you in my head and I did X, or I heard you in my head and I felt the permission to not have to do Y. Those are the types of things that say to me that I'm on the path to doing what I should be doing.
What's yours, Grift?
I knew that was coming too. And again, luckily, having read the book and having done some of this work, give me the right starting point. I want to be known as a person who. Okay, I want to be known as a person who. I feels like it's going to sound close to yours, but I've done this work before. I want to be known as a person who helps people connect to possibility.
I love that.
That's great.
That's great. Yep.
Yeah. And look at us. Look at what we're doing right now on this podcast. And April, absolute pleasure. I know we said we could talk forever on this. It ends up being just north of an hour. I'm sure we could have gone for a lot longer, but both of you are just amazing leaders. It's really great to have you in our community. I feel really personally fortunate to have met you and get to know you over the last couple of months. And I really look forward to what you guys are going to do with ForthRight People, what's going to happen with the book. I wish you guys nothing but success. And I can't wait for our communities to continue to get more and more intertwined. So thank you for coming on this episode. And thank you, frankly, for being the leaders who you are.
Thanks, Griff. It was a pleasure.
So fun.
All right. See you guys. And that'll do it for this episode 254 of Navigating Now. Come back every week, Thursday, 3 p.m. Central for new episodes. And you can find all of our previous episodes on our YouTube channel or at thaudium.com/.